Hey, my name is Weather from the Summoner School Discord, and I'm here to follow this game following the Kalista. Uh, just going to turn on your team's vision, and like always, I'm going to start talking about win conditions. I think that it's good to have a clear plan whenever you start a game, and I like talking about it because it tells you what kind of setup you need to do to help your team win and to prevent the enemy team from doing what they want to do to win. Okay, so for starters, something you might notice is your entire team is AD. Your entire team being AD means that you're eventually going to fall off, and that's a problem in a lot of different ways, but also you have good picks for this. Kalista is an early game powerhouse and falls off anyways. So your team generally is got to win by like 25 minutes, or else you're going to start having a lot of problems. Just because they can stack armor and they can make a lot of your team irrelevant. But if you're trying to come up with a way to counter that, like maybe the game's somewhat even, you're going to need to get a lot of armor pen. And as Kalista, you might even in this game be thinking about getting a Black Cleaver. That's not something that you would do normally, and again, very strong might. I'm not telling you to build it, it's just a might. It's an idea. It's what you would be thinking about when this game starts. A maybe, if you will. But what you should be trying to do to win, just giving you a timer to lose, isn't really something that helps you win. Your team has like a Zed that's going to want to split push and probably going to want to get away from the Malzahar. If the Zed gets into a lane with the Xerath, when the Xerath and the Tristana are in a lane, he can definitely kill one of them. So swapping with the Zed as soon as possible would probably be beneficial for your entire team, because that would allow you to have access to the mid turret to safely DPS this down, and it would give the Zed the potential to kill someone else. But again, this is things that would happen after like maybe 8 minutes and maybe the first turret's fallen or something like that. So this isn't something that happens right away, and your plan is not to literally start mid lane. It's just what you'd be thinking about. The way that you're going to play out your lane, you have a very strong level 1, 2, and they have a pretty strong poke lane and a pretty good push lane and like a very good 6. I would say, well, their 6 is kind of weird because Xerath is not going to want to go in, but Trist does. I would say you should be able to win trades pretty consistently, but you're going to get outpoked. What does that mean? It means you're going to be wanting to look for those trades. So a lot of this early laning phase, since you have a lot of potential pressure with your strong lane, is going to be how you position and how you create your lead early. If you just get poked out, which is very probable, like they have a pretty good poke and push, and you don't have a whole lot of push on your side, it means you're probably going to be on your turret after a little while of the lane, and that's not something that's fun to play into. So you got to make sure you create your advantage pretty early. Like pre-level 4, you should be winning this lane. After level 4, you probably have run out of potions and stuff like that, so there's other factors. So what does their team want to do? Well, their team is a mixed bag of hard engage between the Vi and the Malzahar, and poke between the Xerath, pretty much just the Xerath, but the Xerath is going to just want to poke. So what's going to happen in their team fight is the Xerath's going to get a little bit of damage off, then someone's going to either get flash ulted or just Vi'd, and they're going to die. So you need to make sure that whenever you're playing to these fights, you somehow get rid of the Xerath, get rid of the Xerath's poke, and then they only have all-in potential, which means you could siege. If the Xerath is there, they still have wave clear and they still have poke. The Malzahar is going to be able to wave clear some, but not quite as much. Yorick's probably just going to keep splitting, and the Mundo's probably going to be matching him. So that's probably not going to be a factor for you guys until much later on. It's going to be pretty hard to lane swap to a Yorick, though. Just the nature of a Yorick, he has a pretty good kill pressure even on you. And he might even be able to push you out of lane with his ghouls, depending upon how much lifesteal you get and stuff. Alright, without further ado, to the game. This is both my favorite and least favorite little rant at the start of the game. Get out of the base early. Get out of the base. Get out of the base. If you're looking for mentoring, one of the easiest rationales that I have for this is you're looking for ways to improve. Which means you're looking for insight on something that you're not doing, right? Whenever you're not showing up to something like this, well, what if the Thresh wasn't here, right? And they just walked into your jungle and they potentially could have killed your jungler or stolen his buff. that may not seem like it's impacting you, right? It's not your fault they were there, right? They should have warded this themselves. But it's something you could have contributed. And if it's something you can contribute to winning, you should be doing it. By just being here and preventing something like that from happening, you help your team tremendously. By being AFK in spawn, you're doing nothing for this period of time. And this is a very impactful period of time. In professional play, there is a huge amount of emphasis on what happens in the first 2 minutes of a game, what camps people start, etc. And you're just your emphasis is on base, like you're switching your music out or using the restroom. Whenever you start a game up, be present. I really hate how often that's a problem though. Like you don't move out of base until 40 seconds. That's terrible. Now what if they're invading here? You don't have wards. They could have gotten up here and they could have come over here to kill your Thresh while he's getting soulbound. Get out of base early. No reason to do that. Okay. So your level 1 so far isn't really bad, but it looks like you're going for a level 2 spike. You have a small miscommunication with your support on which minion people are going to go to. You're running very meta stuff, and you're managing the wave somewhat to help that you get level 2 first. So you just need to make sure that you don't hard shove, but you make it so that way you definitely get level 2 first. What you're doing right now is right. Because they have a lot of potential push between the Tristana's AoE and the Xerath AoE. Interesting. Now you're playing really far back. So, you just gave up your potential to get level 2 first. For some reason, here you're walking off the wave. Do you see your aggression? This point in time, you are making them afraid. The way you're stepping up to the minion wave here, they're backing off. They're like, oh, this Kalista wants to fight. And then they start coming up to you for just a second. You auto once, and then you just walk away like, oh, I can't be there. And because of that, look at the minions now. Between their AoE and stuff, they're probably going to get level 2 at the same time, or even first. Yeah, the Tristana stopped autoing too. But yeah, that you weren't able to do anything with your spike here. You're not zoning out, and you're giving way too much respect. If you're worried that you're trying to dodge abilities, you're still getting hit by the Xerath Q, so the only thing you're doing by backing off the wave is removing any pressure you have on them. There's a lot of things wrong with this beyond just stepping back for the level 2. Another thing is you're not with your Thresh. So if they wanted to trade onto you or trade onto the Thresh, they could 2v1 one person on your team. This is a little bit of lane positioning that you are kind of mistaken here. If you're kiting away and looking for safety, you'd want to be next to your Thresh, but far enough away that they won't be able to Q both of you. So right here is ideally where you'd be kiting away to, right? Towards your Thresh, so you both could get in on this, and further away. If for whatever reason you wanted to kite away. What you're doing over here means that you don't really understand the early levels, which is either you're not paying attention to power spikes, or you're giving too much respect to trade potential. Like, the Xerath is going to Q me. Well, he does Q you, and he gets you anyways, even way back here. If you're trying to avoid Tristana auto attacks, just out-level her and make it so she can't auto attack you. You could zone her off of CS pretty easily, but instead you're just giving her respect. Which at this point you shouldn't have to do. You are a stronger level 1 and level 2. Up until about level 4, you are stronger. Okay, so another thing I'm noticing is you don't know how to track the enemy jungler. If you were tracking the enemy jungler, uh, you would be able to guess by just the clock where the enemy jungler is. And it's pretty easy to do once you start paying attention to it, but this ward is going to see jack shit. Nothing. Waste of time, waste of resource, and if you're thinking that, oh, you're pushing, that you're going to get ganked, then just don't fucking push, but no, you're not going to get ganked anyway, so push all the way in. Okay, well, how do you know based off of the clock? Well, it's based off of clear times. So if they were wanting to do a camp, like their blue buff, and then another camp, and then level 3, right? That's a typical 3-minute jungle clear. From bot to top, 3 minutes. You know that they started bottom because Tristana and Xerath were late to bot lane. So you know they started bottom, which means he started on this, which means that he's going to be working his way topside, which means he's going to be top around 3 minutes. He's right around here right now. See? Vi. And it's really easy to predict. It's really easy to predict. This is a little bit of fast clear, 240. It's a little bit fast. But, okay, then how does this affect you as bot lane, right? Well, if you don't see the enemy jungler show up by 4:30, that means he's coming for your ass bottom. Because that means he just did his clear and recalled, got his item, and then the next camp set up are the bottom ones. So that means he's going to be coming for your ass bottom. But by doing this, it means you're not understanding where people are on the map. Awareness to ward is not the same thing as awareness of vision, of where people are. This does not give you any knowledge. You're not using this to catch anyone out because no one should be here. What you need to be doing before you even try and ward something is thinking about where they should be going. Because this is a wasted resource that could be used either for lane or for later, whenever they are supposed to be coming for your ass. But they're not going to be ganking you. And their mid laner is not going to fucking roam on you either. Not through here. Alright, you have a lot of problems with how much you're focusing minion waves. Ironically, the last person I reviewed had the exact same problem. Do you see what you do here? I mean, I'm going to play it in slow motion, and I'm not even going to really comment on it. Do you see this? All of that damage, all of this damage, was from you just trying to shove the minion wave and not trading autos. You decided that it would be more important to shove the wave. Shoving bot wave does not win you the lane. It doesn't do anything, especially if you can't fucking get to the wave later because you're so low on health. Now, of course, you can heal up probably with fleet footwork and, you know, a relic shield, but that's not going to be here in like 3 fucking days. So, yeah, the relic shield meta is not going to be here. So this is not going to work. But what you should have been doing in this situation is either accepting the trade onto the Tristana to push her off because you are stronger, or just not stepping into like a range where she could auto attack you. You didn't have to be standing there. Do you see your positioning towards these minions? Tristana wouldn't be able to hit you if you were over here, but you walk into her. Do you see how you're jumping into her? And now you're just in melee range, basically. Do you see how close you are? You didn't have to be that close. You jumped into her, and then you decided not to trade. What this means is you're overvaluing pushing the wave. Pushing the wave is not important, especially not early. See, here's what their jungler is doing. She used her faster clear to try and catch out the enemy jungle. That's a pretty reasonable play. I don't know why he's sticking around. It's interesting. But do you see how much damage you've taken? You have to use your potion now because you've just been eating these free autos. And right here, even though your Thresh goes in and you're probably thinking, like, why did you go in after you hooked a minion? But the reason that you really can't go in is here. You're half-life. Do you know why you're half-life? It's over here. Every play, everything in this game happens because of setup. There's no single flash that wins the game. Because why were people even there? It's how you manage waves, it's how you take turrets, it's how you rotate, it's how you have vision control, it's how you harass, whatever. Everything has setup. It's like a ward. There's a timer. Every play has like 3 minutes of setup. And your setup is here. You can't win this fight just because you're low on life because of what you did earlier. Everything adds up. Yep. Oh, he turned on for the kill. Yeah, you could have double killed here easily. The reason you didn't double kill is because you were half fucking life. Do you see how close this was? And like, you just need to be thinking about what you could have done differently, right? Right. That's the whole point of this situation. And the reason this happened is because you overvalued pushing the minions. You weren't trading autos. Because if you were trading autos, you would have killed the Tristana sooner, because she would have had a little less life. You could have rotated onto the Xerath sooner, which would have meant you had more health to fight him, which means you would have just let the minions kill him, basically. Instead, you're going to miss out on all of the CS. That's if he pushes it. Oh, he doesn't push it. Never mind. Oh, well, it's going to bounce to them anyways, so that might have actually been a better play that he just did there. Yeah. So far, you have disrespectful positioning whenever it comes to you're not understanding the strength of 2v1s. Your support is over here. You kite up to the top. You don't understand jungle timers with where there should be. You don't understand minion wave management because you're just spamming pushing. That's not how you play this lane. That's not how you play any lane. You don't just spam push. You know, the reason you probably warded over here is because you're so used to getting ganked because you probably just push all the time. It's not a good strategy. You need to manage this wave, and you need to trade. Your CSing is pretty good, but you don't have to be constantly hitting the wave to CS correctly. So you're doing fine with CS. It's just you need to make sure you're managing the wave better. For example, those 2 kills that you gave earlier. You remember how you like whenever I opened this earlier, you were like 10 CS ahead? Do you see those 10 CS now? I don't see those 10 CS now. I don't see them anymore. Not only now are you behind a kill, you're not ahead in CS. You're not ahead in XP either. They're 4. You're 3 and 4. Okay. So a secondary timer that you should be interested in, right? This is actually a really good time. I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not. But the second time you can expect the jungler to be coming for your ass, if they're not coming for your ass at 4:30, they're coming for your ass between 6 and 7 minutes. Because this camp's spawning, right? This camp spawns at 6:30, more or less, depending upon a couple of factors. But since this camp's spawning, the jungler is going to be around this side of the map, and that means they're either going to clear camp and then come and kill you guys, or they're going to take a red buff and come and kill you guys, or just continue their map if you know there's nothing available down here. So this is a pretty good time to be putting down your ward. You don't have one, of course, but it would be a good time for one. Your sentinel is not reliable vision. Letting the wave come into you is a pretty good idea. You see the Vi mid though, which means that you can play up a little bit. Yep, you're just spam pushing that wave though. What's the Vi gonna do next? This is a considerable problem. What is the Vi gonna do next? Now you have no flash. See, that's something that I said was going to happen, right? I said between 6 and 7 minutes, and She comes a little bit after 7 minutes, of course. But there she is. And why? Why is the jungler down here? Well, it's because her pathing. And this is something you should really put into your thought process of playing any role in League of Legends where the jungler is. Because that shows you whether or not you're able to play up or not. And since you just constantly push the wave, not only does that mean you're disrespecting the enemy laners, you're disrespecting the enemy jungler. And with your style of play, this is probably the thing you're used to seeing the most happen. Another prick in your lane, right? Another person coming to gank you, coming to kill you. This is good. There wasn't really anything for you to do bottom, so this is good. Looking for anything else is good. Uh, well, obviously you're not going to be looking for dragon now. Now, again, you're constantly just farming and pushing the wave. This isn't how you're going to create a lead for yourself in bottom. This is what you're doing right now. You're just wave clearing. And I know that right now, right, if you're following my jungle tracking knowledge, right, maybe a little bit, maybe not. The Vi right now is probably, since you saw her over here at 7 minutes, she probably went up top and cleared her blue buff, and she's probably looking for something top right now because the Mundo's up here, or she's probably hovering around this side of the map for a little, for various reasons, but she's probably around here. Um, and that means that it's okay to be shoving like this, but the way you play these lanes, you're just wave clearing. You're not trying for the enemy champions at all. You're waiting for either your support to set up a hook or you're CSing. Which means that there's never going to be any harass done to them because you're not harassing unless the support's doing it, but your Thresh isn't doing it. So you're always going to go in on them when they're full health. That's not a good habit. That's an okay time to recall. I imagine that you didn't recall whenever you were taking the scuttle because you needed a little more gold for Cutlass, but that would have been your optimal time to recall since the jungler was disconnected. If you, instead of taking scuttle, had just recalled, but you stayed for like 2 more waves. Because, you end up losing, almost all that wave. Do you lose all of it? Yeah, you lose all of it. All but one. Huh. You're not very good with your Kalista ult either. If you're trying to use it for the crowd control, you should have waited until after to reset onto someone else. You didn't need the extra crowd control on this Aerith because he was already slowed and he had nothing to get out. He had no flash. He already used his stun. He had nothing to get out. And because of that, you weren't able to get the Tristana. Partially. I don't think you would have been able to anyways, but you used your ult really early there. I actually didn't check to see if I was top, though. Let me go back and look at that. When was that? Like 10 something? Oh. She's going back top. Okay, so I was right, but in a different way. And then she goes over to Raptors. Okay, I was wrong. Never mind. My B. Okay, so here you are just pushing again. Hmm. Yeah. I know that wasn't necessarily your fault, right? We'll look back at the fight and see if there's anything, mechanically or positioning wise that happened. But realistically, you didn't set up anything for this fight, and you didn't do anything. You just autoed because your Thresh again is setting this up for you. Your Thresh sets this up. Okay, I guess there were a few mechanical things that you did here. You didn't use your Q to hop forward, and you didn't rend this guy. If you had rended him, he would have died, which meant you could have turned on the Trist earlier. And I know he just got out of range, but he got out of range because he didn't hop. And if you killed him, you wouldn't have died here. So yeah, there was a mechanical thing, and that's not really something that I'm too concerned about. I'm not saying I'm not too concerned because I think you're good at it. It's just that that's not something that can easily be improved. Tracking the jungler is something that can easily be improved. Positioning next to your support can easily be improved. Mechanics and stuff that's harder to improve. And it's not something I'd be focusing on. I'm not saying that like challenge yourself and do that. If you can mechanically outplay someone, you'll have to mechanically outplay someone every time. If you strategically outplay someone, you'll outplay them once by doing a strategic outplay, and it doesn't matter if you fuck up because you just have more damage and more health and stats and XP, etc. Mm, interesting. So, you try and show up for that fight, and you're really not needed. Um, so this is kind of judging whether or not you're needed to show up to a fight. Um, sorry. I yeah, that's really all it is. Judge whether or not you're needed. Because that time that you're off of this tower is turret damage you didn't get. You would have probably gotten it to like a third health. You wouldn't have killed it, but what if you got one more wave on it then? Depending upon, of course, what they did. Yep. Remember how I told you up until like level 4, and then after that he has better all-in potential, Tristana does? That's an example of it. You picked a fight without knowing your champion's strengths or their champion's strengths. You think you have a lead here, but you're not playing to your strength. For starters, your support isn't there, so you're down basically 2 abilities because your W attack speed isn't there and your R isn't there. And Kalista is all about kind of harass with her E and her mobility. You didn't use any of Kalista's strengths here. You let Tristana use all of her strengths. Her burst and her really high cooldowns, all of those are blown on you. You didn't try to do anything about it. And you might have been thinking that you have a good lead here, but that, again, is a misunderstanding of power spikes. You don't have a lead enough to kill the Tristana. Your items already, right? Blade of the Rune King versus Infinity Edge? Nah. Blade of the Rune King is not an item for all ins. Yeah. So a lot is kind of happening. Let me actually go back to this so I can agree with you or disagree with you. I didn't. I was not. I was thinking of something else. Oh yeah, definitely a good call to go up here. Definitely a good call. All right. Staying here is fine. So far, you don't know how to track the enemy jungler or where to ward for it or when to ward for it. You did buy a pink ward, but that's not enough. You have to know how to use your trinket too. This is a good habit to be buying pink wards, a bad habit of using your trinket early. You also spam push the wave without any consideration of what the enemy champions are doing. Your lane positioning is away from your team, which is not very helpful. You don't attempt to harass or trade damage. You only try and all in. You're playing a terrible champion for that. And your recall timer is eh. It's not awful, because I know you needed to buy, but it's eh. Going bottom here is the right move, because you need to catch this. You don't want to fight the Tristana, though, so if she goes in on you, you're kind of dicked. Okay. You're looking really hard for these fights. Um, I kind of understand it, right? You're going with your team, you're doing these things and stuff like that. But what is the purpose of a fight? The purpose of a fight is so you can get something afterwards, right? Without them contesting you. After you kill them all here, you push to the turret and you take the turret. In order to push to the turret, you're going to need these minions to be up here. So being on these minions is just as important as these kills. Because their whole fucking team isn't here. Here's one, here's two. They are coming over, but they're going to... This chase that you're doing, this guy's already dead, right? There's nothing about that. And you could have been pushing the minions up and been here for the rest of the fight if they did decide to contest that too. This is again about that showing up for fights thing. Oh, did Malzahar actually kill him? Oh, interesting. Yeah. You're not going to have a turret or anything to do here. Even if you get these kills, they're only kills. Here's your wave. So you're overvaluing team fights and you're undervaluing turrets. I'm not saying that you should not have shown up for that fight, but that fight shouldn't have happened at all. Like it was your team chasing them into your jungle when you had nothing to contest over here. Now you guys sit around trying to make something happen and you end up dying for it. Let's see if that little bit of turret damage earlier would have made a difference here. It'll be interesting to see. Probably would have meant you had died for it if you had stayed, but you could have gotten it. Because you stopped autoing it here too. That probably would have been this much and before as well. Okay, so this isn't going very well anymore. Your team is falling behind, and you're going to be outscaled. Your condition was pretty much to win this by 25 minutes rather, and you have no lead at this point in the game, which means it's going to be incredibly difficult for you if they itemize correctly. Um, they don't have a whole lot of armor yet, but they definitely should have armor. Oh gosh, I gotta get some coffee or something. So far, jungle tracking, your ward usage is bad. Buying a pink ward is good though. Your positioning in lane, your minion wave management, both with power spikes and with just spam pushing it. That's with relation to the jungle tracking and also how you trade back. You don't attempt to trade at all. You attempt to all in, not understanding your champion's power spikes. And you misunderstand your lead. You also don't know what fights to show up for. You seem to just hunt down team fights. Um, and you want to play like an assassin in these team fights, the way you tried to kill the Trist over here. The fight over here that you showed up for was, I guess, ultimately okay, but then the other time you tried to come from lane to the Malzahar was a waste of time. Your understanding of whether or not to go to Herald, I think that still was a good call. It ended up that you weren't needed there, but you're not going to know that every time. So, okay, let me go here and stop critiquing and give advice, right? What would I do in a situation like this? Well, if you can look at the map right now, you have a very large wave pushing top and a very large wave pushing bottom. Whenever a very large wave is pushing bottom and it's past 20 minutes, Baron is on the table. It's something that you can typically do surprisingly easily. And after 20 minutes, this is what you need to be looking at. Even though your jungler is dead, you're Kalista, and you can smite with your Rend. So this is a very probable thing to do. You have a tank, you have Kalista, you have Zed, you have Thresh. This is doable, very doable. So I would try and be setting up for this. What this means, ultimately, what you're doing is going mid, and then you would get a ward somewhere over here and a ward somewhere over here, and wait until you see someone show up bottom or top. If they show up top, they're probably going to push it out like 2 waves and then recall to group with their team. That's a standard play. Or that he's going to keep split pushing up until this turret, in which case he would ward over here or something. If the Baron is not warded at this point, it is unlikely that they would end up checking it unless you made it incredibly obvious you were walking over there. Because they have other things that they would want to do. That's what I would do. I would set up for Baron and I would attempt to do Baron at this point in the game. You kind of ARAM. See, here's Xerath showing up bottom. He's the support, and he really shouldn't be. But it's showing that it happens, which is good. That's a much better Kalista ult. Good. Now, I don't think it was intentional at all, but let me explain also a part of my strategy here. Another thing that split pushing bottom does, even if the objective you're contesting or starting or aiming for, right, is not Baron, right? It doesn't have to be Baron. The point of doing Baron here was because you knew you'd be creating a numbers advantage because you knew someone would be showing up bottom. So one of the biggest strategies you need to learn is how to manage this wave to make it so that it slow pushes so that someone responds to it and you can have a man advantage somewhere. A man advantage typically would be used for Baron or a turret, right? That's what you would ultimately do. You use it for a team fight, which is going to get you one or the other. So it's still fine. I think it's going to get you something. Yeah, you got to think about Baron a lot more. You got to start pinging it. You got to start looking at it. Right here is Baron for free. Vi is dead. Malzahar's not up for a little while. And they had people on the bottom side of the map. Instead, people are dying. You're looking down here for nothing. You're wasting your time. This is a complete waste of time. A complete waste of time. You got one turret, but you should have been able to potentially get like an inhibitor. Because you would have been able to potentially get this, then go up to Baron, and because they had to respond to top. They would have had to have gone from here to top. If they contested you, then you just would have gotten the top turret, and you probably would have killed them because they're so far extended with less numbers than you. Instead, you ARAM, and instead you chase for kills. This is a bigger problem than just not knowing which fights to show up for. You seriously focus way too much on fights. You chase for kills, you chase for kills, you chase for kills. turrets are way more important than kills, and here's why. Kills, the only benefit kills have, right? Okay, they give you money, which lets you win the next fight, but what does winning the next fight do? It's the same situation. It's the same situation. Someone's dead. What does that mean? It means that you can get an objective uncontested. If they're on the other fucking side of the map, it doesn't matter if they're over there if you can get an objective. That's the same thing as them being dead. That's the same thing as you killing them, getting money, recalling them, coming bottom, killing them again, and then doing nothing. Because nothing's happening on the map. You want something to happen on the map, you need to stop blindly chasing for kills. You need to stop running for this. You need to stop chasing into the jungle for this team fight that shouldn't have happened here. There was nothing to contest. There was nothing over here either. Your objective that you wanted was Baron or a turret, and you decided to chase for a kill, which meant you only got one turret when you should have gotten a lot more. The minions up over here got this turret, and that you had nothing to do with. This is also a very good wave. This is still a good time to Baron, but you were in no position to because you decided to ARAM some more. And you're again just looking for this fight. What objective is there over here? There's no turret that you're protecting. There's no turret you're sieging. There's no dragon up. Dragon's not even spawning for like a fucking week. There is no reason this fight should start. And do you know part of the reason why this fight starts? Watch yourself here. Do you see how you're stepping into this? It's not that these fights just happen. You start these fights. Your team's fucking way over here. They're not looking for this fight. You walk into them and are autoing them when you don't even know how many people are here. Could be 4. So you pick bad fights because you misunderstand objectives and you are only hunting for kills. Again, what do kills do? They let you take something uncontested. If you can just fucking take something uncontested, take something uncontested. And if you're contesting nothing, then why are you going for a kill? So you can rotate to Baron afterwards? Well, you didn't take it the first time. This doesn't matter. This fight does not matter. Anything that happens here, whether it's getting kills or not, does nothing for either team. Do you see this wave? What are you going to do here? Yeah, you're going to recall. Oh, no, you're not going to recall? You're going to stay? Oh, well. Your decision lost the turret. Yep. Rest in peace, turret. And then you come back mid. Mid is a good place for you to be right now. It allows you to rotate to either Dragon or Baron, whichever one the enemy team wants to do, or your team wants to do. You start just random... Oh, no. Is that the Vi? The Vi is pinging their turrets. I don't know why the Vi is pinging their turrets. Rotating bot here, it would be an okay idea. The only reason it's an okay idea is because your jungler's still topside with someone, so you know that if they all went to Baron, you'd still have the ability to contest it or delay it. This is fine. But it's not always going to be fine. Walking bottom like this could give an uncontested Baron, which, even though you might have gotten a turret for it, Baron is worth like 2 turrets and an inhibitor. Basically. So if you get all of this, then great. If you don't, then you just lost that trade. That's about what you should be thinking it's worth. This is what I'm talking about. This is exactly what you want to do. This right here. Oh, never mind. No! No, 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 no. You're hunting for the team fight. What the fuck objective is over here that you're contesting? What are you showing up for? If you're worried that they're coming for you, look at this ward. You see the Vi, you see it, you could have been on this turret. Oh, now the Vi's showing up there and you created a numbers advantage. Great. Well, you know what? You could have done the numbers advantage over here whenever they were rotating down. Just send your whole fucking team down because for some reason there's 3 people over here and they could have just come for the Vi. Okay? Now they're just going to wave clear this out and then they're going to walk mid and there's going to be another team fight and then it's a coin flip again. There's the coin flip. Right? Here's the coin flip right here. Here's what should have been done anyways. Thank you, Zed. Coin flip the first time worked out. Coin flip the second time didn't work out. There was no advantage there. You just took a fight because you're hunting for kills. Yep. Okay, that is definitely your biggest problem. Your objective priority is non-existent, and you hunt kills, you hunt kills, you hunt team fights, and that's all you think about. You hunt assassin plays where you 1v1 the Tristana. This is it. This is it. This is what you want. No! 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 You had someone bottom, you didn't know where the Vi was, but she sure as fuck wasn't around here. And now you're not even with your team. So that it... yeah, okay, so the game's over here. Game is definitely over here. Anything that happens after this doesn't matter. Because they should have complete access to whatever, if they want the inhibitor, if they want the Baron, if they want bot turret and inhibitor, they have control of the map and they should win here. Whether or not they do doesn't matter. They should win here. So your biggest problems, you don't track the jungler, you push the wave without paying any attention to harass, paying any attention to your positioning, paying any attention to where the jungler is, you just push the wave. You also rely a lot on your team to get engages. You don't attempt to exchange ever. You don't trade with the enemies ever. You just wait for your support or jungler to come, and then you go in. That's not good. You're not going to win a lane by yourself. You're just waiting to get carried that way. Don't do that. Don't just push the wave. You need to create your own advantages. Yes, you were CSing better than him, but that's like you both were just autoing the wave. Nothing else happened. So he could have, or Tristana, whatever, she, whatever, could have gotten the same amount of CS. You need to make sure you're doing something more than just autoing a wave to create that lead. You don't use your wards in a very good way. You don't track where people should be and place them there. That's related to tracking, but that's also related to timers, and it's also related to things like how you manage your resources. Because over here you've had to put down your ghost because you didn't have a ward, and that's around when the Vi came at 7 minutes and like 23 seconds or something like that. That's when the Vi came. And if you had your ward over here, you probably would have spotted it. Not your Wraith, your ward. You also are hunting for team fights. That is legitimately the biggest thing you can improve on, and your objective priority is non-existent. Add Baron to your playbook. If you think that team fights are how you're going to win games, just erase that from the game and think about Baron the way you're thinking about team fights. Think about Baron, call for Baron, set up for Baron, be present for Baron, and Baron, 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 Baron. Whatever you can do to set up for this shit, that's how you're going to win a game. The way you're doing team fights, legitimately, it's a coin flip. Legitimately. If there's no advantage there and you're not creating an advantage, you're not playing off of these advantages, then it's a coin flip. Advantages are picks, are numbers advantage. Numbers advantage is whenever you force someone to show up bottom, like the Xerath play. Remember how I said that you could have turned to Baron the first time, except for the Xerath was bottom, you know, that's and then you look for the team fight where you had a numbers advantage. That's not a coin flip. That's you having a numbers advantage. It's not a coin flip. You win. If you start creating advantages like that, then yeah, team fight, that's fine. But you're not. You're just A-ramming. You also stay mid for way too long. You're A-ramming. You also misjudge power spikes. You don't know when you're strong. Both, I think this is why you played back level 1, 2, and why you, for some reason, tried to 1v1 the Tristana over here. Misjudge power spikes. And that's something that's going to have to come with practice. Your mechanics also need a little bit of work, and that's, again, something that's just going to have to come with practice. I'm specifically talking about the hop when you could have killed the Xerath, which would have kept you alive, which would probably let you kill the Trist. Let's see. After that, You don't do any rotations this game, but I don't know how many would have been available to you. Uh, your team fights are eh. A lot of the times that like you lost the fight over here, but you just weren't even there for that fight. I don't know what was more important to be, whatever. It doesn't really matter. You show up to way too many team fights with relation to what you can do on the map. You're not thinking about objectives. You're not thinking about what turrets you're protecting or sieging. There's nothing to get for that fight that you forced, that I pointed out that you started. There was nothing to get. And then that ended up losing you this turret, right? Eventually, your decisions come back to haunt you. And this is an example of it. That team fight down there was a poor decision, not because of any advantages, but there was nothing to get. There was no reason to fight there. Watch an LCS game or something like that, and you'll see that there can be like fucking no deaths, especially like a season ago whenever the games lasted like an hour. There was like no deaths until 20 minutes or something like that because there's no reason to team fight. You just rotate between the objectives that you want and you set up for them, and if there's no advantage there, you don't take the coin flip. You wait until you have an advantage. You set up those advantages. Don't take the coin flip. That's a big lesson. And fucking Baron, of course. All right, that's it. Good luck, man. Good luck.